down by the museum. A little mobile. That little guy, he was down there. He was living in camper trailer kind of thing. And he was in his retirement, kind of driving around different places, staying in his park, debating.
I think that you like that angle right here. That way you can see everybody. Lori will be at the end asking questions. The camera doesn't have to move a lot. You can just kind of see everybody
instead
talking.
of sitting there and going like this.
Yeah.
Hey, you're the AV man. You know, when I was in school, the AV person
Yeah, we got it.
meant just showing slides. Remember when AV was just showing slides on the slide projector? We had to push the button. I couldn't even do that. We were close.
We had to sign the TV out of the original Wi-Fi, sign it into the guest Wi-Fi, then we had to find the app so that we could cast to the TV, download that, and then we got it. So it was. Yep, the Joggy Dems is live right now. No, you're good. You're good. Anything you say will be picked up on.
That's okay. I'm a reporter, so I won't say anything.
Very nice, very nice. Who do you report for?
The Sherman Valley Times.
Oh, okay, very nice. What's your name? Kaylee, I'm Dustin. Nice to meet you. Just writing things down? Okay. It's so it's Facebook Live, so it automatically records, and it'll just become a post. Yeah. Do you have a story that you're writing, or are you just reporting on this?
Just reporting on this.
Right on.
Covering at the event and seeing what comes of it.
Nice, very nice.
We talked about the performance testing up at King Joyce's office. And then I covered his town hall, and he did over the phone.
Yeah, the telephone hall. How was that?
It was only a half an hour long, and he answered like 6 questions. When he did answer the questions that I could make sense, he talked about the administration and marriage, and answered eloquently as a congressman should.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's refreshing. I wish you could have made it here. That would have been nice.
I wish so too. I mean,
Did they send a representative?
I don't think so.
They didn't even send somebody? That's unfortunate.
I wish, but yeah, I'm not sure.
All right. Are you guys covering anything that's going on in Chagrin Falls today?
Yeah, we have another reporter down at the protest / rally
Yes.
in Triangle Park. She'll be there, and we have a photographer there as well.
Very nice. Very nice.
And that's at 1, right? So she'll be
It's like right after this ends.
Yeah. So we have another one that will be there. And I'm not sure. We also cover solid.
Oh, okay.
We should cover solid too.
I know that. Oh, the only I know of. You need to get by? Sure. Oh, I gotta sit right here because I have the best angle right here. I know. Yep. I know they're. This is sure. Yeah, that'll work actually. That way I don't have to. If they have to get up. Yeah, I'm hoping quite a few. I know right after that,
They would join you?
I know right after that, there's a protest for, like, I think Vivek Ramaswamy is going to Tanglewood.
Yeah, and that's being organized by the Dems too, right?
May we join this distinguished group?
I wish we would.
Thank you.
There's supposed to be like 1,000 protests all across the country.
Yeah, if you, the Mobilize Us app or whatever, like has a map of where it's all going on, and it's spread all over the country. Hopefully it has some sort of net effect.
Right. I guess we will see.
Right. The thing that always gets me is like none of this stuff is instant. It's like you'd want, like what you really want is for it to be like, okay, we did this, now let's see some results, and you gotta like sit and wait and hope, and then sit and wait and hope.
There's lots of people speaking up now who can be better.
I'm looking for a younger person that can take some pictures.
Of course, yeah.
Got it?
During the thing or right now? Do you want a video or? It's great. Live on
Hello, facial recognition.
Geogga County. No, I said it's my mom. She always worries. Be careful. Be careful. What are you doing? Yeah, my husband's just like, have fun. I know. That's
So, Bill, what's Kathy doing? Is she going to do something else this time? Katie, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Really? Ah, okay. Yeah. Don't know him. Yeah, of course. Yeah, and when he shows up, extend the meeting 15 minutes. Dan and I were young together. Yeah, and so was us. Yeah. Concord forever now.
I'm so old that I was the commanding officer of the
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Everybody take your seats, please.
Okay, so thank you for coming. I'm going to give you the run of show today for our event. I'm Janet Carson. I'm the chair of the Geauga County Democratic Party and also the chair of the 88 Democratic Counties chairs for the state of Ohio. So I wear a lot of different hats. But mostly I work very, very closely with my four best buddies up here. Kathy Cristofaro from Trumbull County, Susan Hagan from Ashtabula County, Denise Smith from Portage County, and I don't know where Tom Tagliamani is from Lake County.
Oh, we had to make an
here today. This is our right to assemble peaceably, and we always want to make sure that we exercise our rights as citizens to peaceably assemble. It is it's extremely important that our representatives hear us, and we want to make sure that they understand that we are watching them and asking them to listen to us. So we have our Dave Joyce cut out because he did not choose to attend today. But you all have in your packets the description of our 5 speakers tonight. They are experts on their areas of topics that they're going to be speaking on: education, agriculture, the Ukraine, veterans, and local taxes and funding, tax funding. So please write your questions out as you're sitting there, your questions for them, so that we can make sure that they get answered later on today. Also in the packet, there is a FOIA form. That is a Freedom of Information Act form. So if you want to know who's got your data, who's got your social security number, which one of Elon Musk's little minions has your data, complete this form. Give it to us and we will turn it in for you. This form will make them tell you who has that data and who it's been released to. Very, very important. Or if there's any other information you want to know about the government, that's how you get it. Freedom of Information Form. And that was an act that was passed during the Biden administration, and during the Obama administration. It's very, very important for not only news media, but for citizens. And then finally in the form, there is a comment page for Congressman Joyce's office. This is the official form that if you visit his office, you're asked to fill out and turn in so that he can respond to your question. We ask that you please fill those out and then pass them up to us. We'll be collecting them at the end of the night, and we will make sure that we deliver them in a large packet to Congressman Joyce's office the next time we visit him. So please write your questions there, even if they've been asked and answered here. We want him to hear those questions more than once. Okay. We also have a postcard here that we passed out to you that says, "Do your job." Please fill that out and address it to Congressman Joyce or to one of our other public officials. Pass those in to us and we will mail them for you. Or you can mail them yourself if you want. If you need postcards, please ask. We have them here to write your questions out. All right, run of show. So this is how the day will go today. All of our county chairs will speak for a few minutes and welcome you. And then our moderator, Gloria O'Neill, will be asking questions that have been pre-submitted earlier than today online and also have come into us today. She will ask the questions to the appropriate expert, and then if someone else would like to respond as well, we have that ability. Each speaker will have approximately 2 to 3 minutes to respond, and the questions that are written out will continue until noon. At noon, we will take a 15-minute break, and then we will come back, and we will have a live mic for you to ask your question directly, and to one of our experts, and address your question to him as well. We ask no political speeches, that there be no long stories, that there only is 1 minute for your question because we have a very, very full room and we want everyone to be able to ask a question and get a response. At 1:15, we'll start to close the event down, and at 1:30, the event will be over. So if you want, we have snacks available, coffee and water. Everything's $1 to make it easy, so come and get a bag of chips or a granola bar or whatever you would like. And that way you won't go hungry through the day, you won't pass out while you're here waiting for every question to be asked. Oh, I'm sorry. Please silence your phones. We don't want any phones ringing during this. Please silence your phones. The restrooms, there are 2 sets of restrooms in the main hallway where you first came in, and then down the hallway and around the corner. We ask if you use one of the other restrooms, or even when you're here in the facility, that you do not wander around. This is a senior citizen center and a working classroom facility, so we ask that you don't go into any of the doors or open any doors or anything anywhere else except in the public areas where we're supposed to be. Finally, if you have a sign, we want you to keep it on the sides or in the back so that you're not blocking anyone's view. Anything else? All right. We're going to begin. Thank you very much. Kathy, would you like to speak first?
Just to welcome everyone and thank you so much. I appreciate you coming here. This is not contrary to what Dave Joyce says. This is not a Democratic thing. There are Republicans, independents, and you are all concerned constituents of it. Thank you.
Ashtabula County Democratic Chair. I want to thank you all for being here. A big round of applause for the volunteers who can help with this. And as Cory Booker said, not a left or right, it's a right or wrong. I want everyone to make sure that you're patient with our counties. We're doing the best that we can. We really appreciate everybody's help, and we look forward to this fantastic year event. Thank you.
They're not going to hear me, I'll try. I'm Denise Smith from Portage County. Welcome everyone. Thanks for being here. Again, thank you to volunteers. Thank you to Janet, Susan, Tom, and Kelly for putting this on. And I know every one of you has a friend or relative that it's impossible to talk to right now. It's almost funny, but it's not funny. Don't burn that bridge. Those relationships are important, but hopefully we'll give you some information to be able to talk with them and give them a response when you do have those discussions. We thank you again, and let's get out and vote on May 6th.
All right, Tom, where'd you disappear to again? Tom Tagliamonte, Chair of the Lake County Democratic Party. Pretty shy guy. All right, Lori O'Neill, our moderator for today.
So we are live streaming today. Hi there, I'm Lori O'Neill. I'm Secretary of the Geauga County Democratic Party. We are live streaming, and if you miss it or you want to share it with other people, you will have that opportunity. So we just wanted to try to cover and get in as many people as we could because we had well over 500 people registered for this event. What that says to me is that here we are, a group of American citizens gathered together in a time-honored tradition that makes us all patriots. And that is not particular to any party. That is particular to people who care about our country. So give yourselves a one of the things I'm going to do is, as Janet mentioned, we did invite Congressman Dave Joyce to attend today. We didn't do it once, we did it 3 times by every means possible. That would be a regular letter via regular mail, talking to their scheduling folks in DC, and speaking to his local office. We also, I know this because I did it, did some follow-up calling, and not so much as a response, even to say thank you for inviting us. So I guess what that means is Dave's just not that into us. So in any case, it is my pleasure to introduce our speakers today. As Janet mentioned, we are very fortunate to have locally people who are experts in the things that we care about. So I'm going to do a quick intro, and then we'll get started. Dr. John Patterson, here he is a former teacher, legislator, and USDA State Executive Director. It's hard for me to believe nobody can hear me. I have a really big mouth. After his retirement, I need to be much closer to hello. In any case, after his retirement from Jefferson High School as a history teacher, Model UN advisor, cross-country coach, and chief negotiator for his union, Dr. Patterson went on to win 4 terms in the Ohio House. He served the 99th district until term limits forced him out. He is the co-author of the Cupp-Patterson Fair School Funding Plan, and an advocate for public education of many years. As a presidential appointee, Dr. Patterson directed Ohio's Farm Service Agency and led USDA's effort to address the East Palestine train derailment of 2023 and the 2024 drought in Ohio. Let's see if I can pronounce this name correctly. Dr. Taras Maleh was an internist at University Hospitals of Cleveland for over 30 years. Since the 90s, Dr. Maleh has been involved in international physician exchange programs and humanitarian medical aid around the world. With the full-scale Russian invasion into Ukraine, Dr. Maleh has now dedicated all of his efforts to the casualties of war. His focus is procurement of medical supplies, transporting them directly to medical facilities in Ukraine, and promoting physician and medical training programs in Ukraine. He has traveled to Ukraine to evaluate the medical needs and training needs at their partnering facilities. John Kennedy is the Portage County Treasurer. He will speak about the federal government cuts, their impact on local communities. John holds a master's degree with a focus on community economic development. In his current position as County Treasurer, John serves as Vice Chair of the Portage County Budget Commission. He chairs the Portage County Investment Advisory Board and serves on the Land Bank and Community Action Board. John previously worked as Grants and Contracts Administrator for the University of Nebraska-Lincoln and worked as a policy analyst for the Center for Policy Alternatives. Susan Zier is from Sandusky. She is a veterans health advocate. Susan has fought for years to ensure that veterans like her son-in-law receive the benefits and support they are due to address the health consequences of burn exposure. In 2022, after a tireless 5-year battle, countless trips to Washington, D.C., and the tragic loss of her son-in-law to cancer, the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Comprehensive Toxins Act, or the CART Act, was finally signed into law. Susan and her family stood with President Biden as he signed the bill. Now, with the Trump administration's proposed proposed cuts, the VA is planning to remove more than 80,000 employees from the agency, many of whom were hired to administer the benefits and care promised in the PACT Act. And finally, last but not least, we have Chris Gibbs. He is a first-generation farmer and rancher in West Central Ohio. Chris retired from the USDA after 30 years of administering federal agricultural policy to farmers. He resides in Shelby County. He owns and operates 560 acres and raises corn, soybeans, and alfalfa hay. He and his son manage a 90-head cow-calf operation and custom graze using a managed intensive grazing system on 135 acres of improved pasture. Gibbs spent 20 years in the local Republican Party, which makes his story very interesting, including as party chair through 2019. In 2019, Chris left the Republican Party, believing that the GOP no longer represented his values. Chris is currently president. He is currently president of the Board of Trustees for the Gateway Arts Council serving Shelby County, chair of Rural Voices USA, and a bi-weekly columnist for AIM Media's Sydney Daily News. At this point, we're going to ask each of our experts to talk a little bit about their expertise and what they're going to be further explaining today. So I'm going to pass the microphone down.
Good morning. I think you hear me very well, right? Yeah. Good morning. My name is Dr. Taras Malani. I'm a first-generation American. I was born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. I just thought I was going to say a few words maybe about myself so you get a sense of me. My parents escaped from the Soviet Union. Yeah. Thinking about everything, my wife says, quit talking about it because you're going to end up crying. But yeah, so they escaped the Soviet Union back in World War II. My grandparents on both sides decided they were living in the Soviet Union, then under German occupation, and they were both evil. And they decided when the Germans were retreating, they said they were probably the least of the two evils. So they left. They ended up in Cleveland. My parents met in Tremont, Ohio, and I was born in Tremont and so forth and so on. I'm a physician at internal medicine, and I only had one job pretty much, working at university hospitals. I've been doing exchange programs, helping Ukraine, other type of physician exchange. I think the way I was brought up and really appreciating America, democracy, freedom. And that's why I think we're all here today. Same with Ukraine, science coming up, things. Yeah, we have a big picture here. This this war is also showing us good and evil, and that's why we're all here, and why we have to do what we have to do. I'm also so much to talk about. I'm better talking about giving you lectures on hypertension than I am. And so I do music on the side. I can teach you music theory. Talking on these topics where you're passionate, I think it's sometimes we get off track a little bit. So, but I'm probably already past in several minutes. I joined this organization called Cleveland Maidan Association, humanitarian medical organization. We ship the most in the state of Ohio to Ukraine in containers. We have different educational programs. I think I'm just going to I've been in Ukraine I went there 3 times last year. It's been over 3 months there in hospitals, 24/7. And the reason I am here is because we need to advocate what the heck is going on in this world, both here in the United States and in Ukraine. And I guess the question will be what's going on in Ukraine and the needs and the evil that is going on over there. Thank you.
All right, I'm just checking. I wanted to make sure I was doing this right. It's an overview, not a deep dive. Yet. My name is John Patterson, and in full disclosure, I was a public school teacher for 29 years, Jefferson High School. And better yet, I married a teacher. Some of you know her, some of you are related to her. She did 35 years elementary phys ed. So, thank you. I retired from teaching to run for office because I saw what the Kasich budget cuts were doing to our kids. Instead of coming to school for my class, U.S. history, and I know they always came for just my class. When you cut the other things out, art, music, and gym, FFA, consumer science, some of the extracurricular programs, some of these kids get lost. And you wonder why they don't attend school. And you wonder why they get into trouble. And you wonder why they don't like education. Because we haven't stepped up to fund it to do what needs to be done for our kids. In the short run, it is about our kids. In the long run, it's about our combined future. And when I get to really get into the weeds on this, I'm going to explain to you why the federal government, why the state government are selling us short, and why we have to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm John Kennedy. I'm the Portage County Treasurer. I've been in the role since, it seems like forever now. But in November of 23, Brad Cromez, my predecessor, took a job, same job, up in Cuyahoga County, just up the road here. And so I jumped into this thing, and I was like, wow, I've got a lot to learn about all this tax stuff, all these property tax issues, whatnot. And I learned, I'm a fast learner, I'm a quick learner. And I learned right away that people are pissed. The people are angry. Really angry. I don't know about you in your county, but I have a guess. Your property valuations went up about 33% or more, right? Did they not? In our little county, they went up on average about 33%. 33%. So what does that mean, Mr. Kennedy? My property valuation went up. What does that mean in terms of taxes I'm going to have to pay as a result of that? Well, somewhere around half of that, about 15% or so, 16%, and in some cases more than that, because your valuation went up 50%, right? And here's the other thing. And I know I'm not talking to, a lot of folks above 65 in this crowd today. But I will tell you, every event, and I've been to every township, I've been to the county fair, I've been to everywhere. I have seen parts of Portage County that folks who grew up there, and I didn't, but folks who grew up there have no idea. Oh, John, you went out there? You went to Deerfield? What the hell was that like? Yeah. But you know what? I went there, and I listened. And that's what this guy doesn't get. You gotta listen. Even when people are pissed off, when they're angry. You gotta show up. Why the hell else do we go into public service, right? Isn't that the job? To show up when it gets bad. To be present. To listen to all the complaints. And guess what? I wish I could wave a freaking magic wand and make all the property tax problems go away. I can't do that. I wish I could. But you know, showing up is a big part of what people need to see and hear. That you give a shit. That you give a crap. And you know what? I don't care how liberal you are or how conservative you are. There's only two things that matter to me. Are you a fighter, or are you going to sit on your hands and just sit it out? Right? We have agency in all of this. We don't have to sit back and watch and let it happen. We are Americans. We don't bend the knee. Do we? We used to have a goddamn king. We used to. This guy, there he is. He's over there. He's over there. There's the king. And Mr. Joyce, what's he doing? He's taking a knee. Supine. Powerless. He acts as though he has no agency in any of this. We're here to say, no more. We will sit back. We will not go quietly into that good night. We're going to fight like hell.
I didn't know that these were supposed to become increasingly more exciting as we go. This young lady's got a hell of a... Yeah, I'll tell you what. One thing I want to mention, I think it hopefully adds to my resume. I've done something not very many people do, and that's in September of 23, I became chair of the Shelby County Democratic Party. And I'm working hard to raise the voices of folks there. I'm in a county that has 32,000 registered voters, 11,000 Republicans, and 1,100 Democrats. So we've got a tough gig. And doctor, you scared the hell out of me. I'm not drinking sugar mochas. I got sugar-free mochas since January 1st. My sugar is below 100, and I'm taking a statin every day. Okay? I'm good. And for you, who in the hell do you think's paying the property taxes of 560 acres? That's 12,000 and a half. So 38% increase, that's a big deal. I've been traveling around talking about the adverse effects of the Trump administration and the DOGE cuts on agriculture, and they are massive. And we learned that just 2 days ago at the Liberation Day, which means that Trump is liberating dollars out of agriculture's pocket, is exactly what that was. And when we talk about tariffs, this is kind of what got me on the scene back in 2018. This is deja vu all over again. Deja vu all over again. In 2018, we applied punitive tariffs. Excuse me, we didn't do that. Trump applied punitive tariffs to all of our traditional trading partners, all of those EU, Mexico, Canada, etc., Japan, Australia, all the way down the line, and China. China's another story. We can always talk about that. But those countries retaliated. They did exactly what they should have done. They retaliated against agriculture's soft underbelly, United States soft underbelly, which is agriculture. I lost 20% of the value of my soybean crop overnight. We didn't come all the way close to that this past Wednesday, but soybeans were $10.50 a bushel or so. New beans now are $9.37. All right, that's below the cost of production, so I'll be planting into a loss this year. And you might ask, and one of the questions may be, well, just don't plant. No, that doesn't operate, because this guy wants his 24 grand, okay? So I got to find that. Wait a minute, sorry. I want my Shelby County treasurer wants that. So I've been working down through those things. I've been working down through speaking on the cuts of how they affect USDA, how they affect personnel. What else? There was cuts on our seed bunker, for God's sakes. We have a seed bunker in Idaho, all right? We have seeds there that are from the 1800s and before, from way back, as far as we can go. And what are we doing? We're protecting to make sure that we have a food supply into perpetually, okay? If we have some kind of a disease, if we'd have some kind of a fungus, we'd have, God forbid, a nuclear war or what have you, that we would have the seeds to do that, and Doge come along and cut the people out of that. Not all of them, but cut the people out of that. So that's just one of the few things that's happening. Project 2025, I haven't been screaming about it. I've been talking about when I speak, the Project 2025 cuts. These are real. The one that really means something. God damn it. The one that really means something to me is that in the Farm Bill there are, I think, 5 different titles or so: nutrition, conservation, commodities, forestry, research and development. I got them all. There may be some more, but there's 5. They're trying to pull the nutrition title out, which takes care of our SNAP programs and our programs that are designed for folks with lesser means. More people using those than you know. Okay. Project 2025, Freedom Caucus wants that pulled out of there, because as soon as you pull that nutrition program out, as soon as you pull that nutrition program out, the whole doggone thing collapses, because the urban senators won't vote for the Farm Bill if there's no nutrition programs, and the rural senators won't vote for it, and you lose the whole doggone thing. You lose both the whole Farm Bill collapses. So I'm talking about that. Finally, I'll wrap up the original remarks on RFK Jr. and what this is going to do. I propose this, that we've got a food fight on our hands with RFK Jr. And it goes like this. There is no farmer on the planet that does not agree, sorry for the double, triple negatives, that we want healthy food to be fed to our children, to our population, to the world that we export. We are all about healthy food. We're all about making it accessible, making it affordable, and making it healthy. There's no argument there. But RFK Jr. has said, and he's coming after this because he believes in some weird utopian 1950s lack of science about food, that the tools that agriculture uses today are poisoning us, that are poisoning our soil, that are poisoning our food, that are poisoning our kids. He has said that hog farmers are worse than, it's on tape 2009 in a hearing, are worse than Osama bin Laden, more of a threat. This is who we've got. So we're all about healthy food, for sure, but this is going to blow back on farmers. I promise it's going to. And the party that stands up, I don't care if you're Republican, Democrat, man from the moon, Martian out here, the party that stands up and stands up for agriculture and stands up for farmers will benefit in the future.
Hi. I thank everyone for being here today, listening to all of our stories. We're all out here fighting for the same thing, to save our democracy, save our veterans, our health care, our public education. I mean, the list goes on. My name is Susan Zier. I live in Sandusky, Ohio. I was born and raised in Sandusky. Raised by a single mother. My dad was one of those deadbeat dads, and had 5 siblings, so life wasn't always the greatest when we were young, but we were a close-knit, loving family. I graduated high school, did not go to college, but I applied for an apprenticeship at a General Motors factory in Sandusky in 1978. The man in charge told me he could not refuse me to apply. There was a prerequisite test you had to take to see if you were mechanically inclined or whatever. And he said, we've had women take this test, and I can't tell you not to, but I can tell you, you will be wasting your time, because women never do well on this test. Well, guess what happened? I scored the highest in the history of that test.
worker at the General Motors plant in Sandusky, Ohio, and which wasn't always so fun at first because a lot of the men did not want me there, or they wanted me there for other reasons. And but 5 years later, I was pregnant with my daughter, and I had 40 sheet metal workers hold a surprise baby shower. So my daughter, I only have one, and I have one granddaughter. She graduated college, Ohio State, and then Youngstown State University, where she got a doctorate in physical therapy. And she married a guy who deployed to Iraq. His name is Heath Robinson. Heath deployed to Iraq in 06 for 13 months. Came back healthy, fine, running marathons, physically fit, and continued with the job with the Ohio Army National Guard. And 10 years later, 2017, he became sick. He started having these gushing nosebleeds all the time. They would last for an hour. Then he started bleeding from his ears. He was going from doctor to doctor to doctor. Nobody knew what was wrong with him. And finally, an ear, nose, throat specialist discovered that he had some rare autoimmune mucous membrane disease that only strikes 80-year-old women that worked in like chemical factories. So it was treatable, and we were glad about that. But about a month after starting treatment for the autoimmune disease, he showed symptoms of something else that was not consistent with the autoimmune disease. His lymph nodes in his neck swelled up so large they almost had to trach him because he couldn't breathe. And it was discovered that he had cancer. On March 21st, 2017, I was waiting for my phone to ring because I knew my daughter was going to call with the diagnosis and prognosis as they were meeting with the oncologist for the first time. When I answered the phone, I answered, "Hi, sweetie," like I always do, but I know it's her. For 10 minutes, I couldn't understand a word she was saying. She was shrieking, screaming, just hysterically crying, and I just kept saying, "I'm sorry, honey, I'm so sorry." But I didn't even know what was wrong. When she finally calmed down, she was able to tell me that the doctor walked in and said, "What the hell have you been exposed to? You have a rare form of lung cancer. I have no idea how to treat it because there's no statistics or studies on this cancer. And you may only have 4 to 6 weeks to live." So that's when I learned about burn pits. We found out that he, for most of his deployment, had to spend 20 to 30 yards from a football field-sized burn pit that burned everything under the sun. Our family didn't know what to do. We were going to just take care of each other, and his oncologist did find some treatments, an immunotherapy treatment that did prolong his life, and he did survive for 3 years, which was astounding to his doctors. But we were very grateful. Shortly after I learned of burn pits, I felt like I had to do something. I learned that Bo Biden's brain cancer was caused by burn pits. It turned out that Bo Biden and my son-in-law were on the same bases in Iraq and in Kosovo. So they were exposed to the same burn pits. So I didn't, I felt like I had this anger inside me, and I felt sick every morning when I woke up, and I felt like why is the government, the military, doing this to our soldiers and nobody's taking care of them? The VA had on its website their sentiment that there was no scientific evidence connecting toxic burn pits exposure and serious or chronic illnesses. Now, anybody who is maybe 10 years old knows if you sit and burn your trash in your backyard and you stand there and breathe the smoke, you're going to get sick. And so one day I went to my Congresswoman, Marcy Kaptur, thank you. I have one of the few Democrats in Ohio. She was hosting a town hall in Sandusky on saving the ACA. I don't know if you remember at Trump's first inauguration, the first thing they were going to do is repeal the ACA. So she came to Sandusky to inspire us to call and fight to save the ACA. So I thought, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to talk to her about burn pits. And so she fortunately had her veteran aide with her, who was also an Iraq War veteran, and he told me to compartmentalize my anger and go out there and do something. So I did. And I joined up with a veterans organization out of Texas called Burn Pits 360. We lobbied Congress for, I did for 5 years. They were already doing it for 5 years before me. And we had many, many trips to Capitol Hill, walking those halls. One day I put on 13 miles. And in June of 2022, the PACT Act passed, both the House and the Senate. But, wait a minute, there was a little technical error in some wording. It had nothing to do with the PACT Act, nothing to do with the funding, nothing changed. It was just, something was worded wrong. And so the Senate, the Republicans in the Senate refused to vote to bring it back to the floor to fix it. And we needed 60 votes. And we only had 50, the Democrats. So, as it turned out, Senator Schumer sent it back to the House, Nancy Pelosi fixed it. Well, then it had to come back to the Senate and be voted on again, which it had already passed. Nothing changed in it, but 25 Republican senators changed their mind and voted no. So it failed. So we had converged on all these veterans organizations, and we had converged on Capitol Hill the night before, the night of this vote, because we were expecting it to pass, and we were going to have a celebratory press conference in the morning. And we still had the press conference, and it wasn't too celebratory. Then a group of about 5 of us decided that we were going to sleep on the Capitol steps and not leave until the Senate passed the PACT Act. Those 5 people turned into a few hundred, and for 6 days we slept and lived on the Capitol steps. We shamed the Republicans on a national stage, and they voted for the PACT Act. It was signed into law on August 10th, 2022.
Okay, thank you. We're moving. I'm guilty of doing it. You keep the microphone and then we'll have it there as the questions go. So now we are going to begin to ask questions that were submitted by all of you. Thank you for that. And then have each of our panelists answer the questions. I'm going to start with a question about education for Dr. Patterson. And the person has asked, what is the effect of the Ohio legislature's actions regarding public education?
How long do we have? 3 minutes. have to understand something. The way we fund public schools has been found unconstitutional 4 times. You know this. And the bill that I co-authored would meet constitutional standards. In fact, one of the justices on the court remarked to one of my colleagues who was on the court at the time of one of the Duralth decisions, that this definitely makes constitutional muster. All right, so what's the status? They don't want to invest in education. Let me just put it right out to you. And let me ask you this. How many of you here attended parochial school or public high school? Let's see your hands. Yeah, that's a good number. 90% of our kids attend public schools. Everything hinges on education. The 2 things that are absolutely incredible that we need. One is agriculture, got to feed the belly. Second is education. If you had not gone to school, if you'd just been left on an island somewhere without any education, what would your life be like? Short. Unfulfilling. My point is, education is an investment, and the Republicans don't want to invest in it. They want to cut taxes. They want to give tax breaks. When I was in Columbus, we had 2 or 3 swipes to cut taxes, the income taxes, and flatten the brackets. And now we have a Republican who's running for governor who wants to eliminate the income tax that the Republicans helped to pass in the 70s to help fund public education. The lottery was supposed to help fund education too, wasn't it? And my problem is, I'm going to get to the federal government right now, that the feds are threatening to eliminate not only the Department of Education, but to hand off some of the duties to other departments, and Health and Human Services is going to get a chunk of that's our dear friend, Mr. Kennedy. Bottom line is, that's right. Bottom line is, I can give you the numbers in the next question of what your districts are going to lose if the current bill should pass. The governor made his initial swipe at it. Just this week, my dear friend Senator Huffman, former Senator Huffman, now Speaker Huffman, introduced his version that's really going to harm school districts. So if you take the cuts that they're making and the cuts the federal government's making, and school districts still have to run because we want to educate, guess who's going to pick up that burden? You. You'll pay more property taxes. I can get into the weeds a little bit later.
If you don't mind, I'm going to add something about public education. In the Geauga County Democratic Party right now, we are reviewing all issues that we believe matter to all Americans, not just to us as Democrats or Republicans or Independents. So we're really trying to bridge that gap. The way that we're talking about education is going back to the beginning and reminding people that public education started in our country in the 1600s among settlers. It became the law of the land, I believe in 1918, if I'm not mistaken. And coupled with the GI Bill, education for all Americans is what made this country the most innovative and powerful country on earth. So it's hard to understand why those who claim to want to make America great again want to trash one of the most fundamental factors that built us into being the country that we are.
Follow the money.
Right? So anyway, just for whatever that's worth, we are trying to also find ways to talk about that are meaningful to everyone. The next question.
Can I just jump in really quick? I just want to piggyback on what my good friend here, Mr. Patterson, has mentioned, because guess what? These guys in Columbus don't want to step up and actually deliver impactful, meaningful property tax relief for seniors. They don't. They don't want to do that. And so they're figuring out a really sneaky way of slipping into the state budget that'll be signed into law in June by Governor DeWine, if we let that happen. But there's not going to be a damn hearing on it, because it's going to be stuck into this big, massive Christmas tree of a bill. And what does it do? It says, oh, we don't have the courage to deal with the property tax issue as state lawmakers, so we're going to pass the buck. We're going to kick the can. We're going to give it to the counties, the county treasurer, the budget commission folks, me, the county auditor, and our local prosecutor at the county level. We're the ones who are going to now be mandated to take a hard look at public school financing at the district level. And if you got a carryover, guess what? You got to put that back in to help pay for the schools. Really? That's the best we can do? That's the best we can do. Defund public schools even more. John didn't tell you the full number. To fully finance the Cupp-Patterson bill, you need $800 million, right? They're going to fund it at just over $200 million. $200 million. And then they want to scrape the bone of the carcass of public education at the local level. That's what they're going to do. It's not meaningful. It's not going to work. It's just, hey, look over here. Look over here, folks. Correct. Right. Anyway, sorry.
The next question is for Dr. Molly, and some of you may not like this question, but I think it's something that we do have to talk about because it comes up so often in our public discourse. Why should we defend Ukraine when we have so many problems here at home?
Then you give me the most difficult question. I mean, I'm as a physician, I'm a humanitarian, so I think everybody understands what's going on in Ukraine. I can give you numbers. The biggest one thing, I'm going to Washington actually right after this, and Russia stole over 20,000 children. That's why Putin has a warrant on his arrest. That was, I think, March of 23. What kind of world are we going to be living in? We got all these problems. Agreed. What kind of world? I mean, we live in a global world. What kind of precedent will be when a bully, evil gets committed and no justice? I think that's the biggest thing. What kind of world are we going to be living in? So, I'm going to start crying again, thinking about the kids. So, I could talk for a long time, but short answer is, I think we all know where evil is and where his good is, and we have to battle together.
The old history teacher out, and you're in the classroom now. Ever hear of Neville Chamberlain? Yeah. And appeasement? Yeah. How did that work? We buried our heads in the sand in the 1930s, and we did not stand up to Hitler. We did not even accept Jewish emigres until it was too late. And we said never again, didn't we? And that's why we formed the United Nations, to stop this sort of thing. And if we don't help and stop them now, more genocide. I hate to tell you, there are evil people in the world. And sometimes you have to stand up to them. And this is a time that we have to stand with Ukraine.
think maybe wherever Congressman Joyce is right now, he might have heard that too. Our guy who claims to stand for Ukraine, we haven't seen him take any sort of brave stances, have we? And now you guys brought tears to my eyes. So anyway, we are going to move on to a question about agriculture. And someone has asked, can you share with us, Chris, how the slashing of funds for USAID and the implementation of tariffs is going to hurt farmers in Ohio?
I'll try to stand out of the microphone here. So, USAID, I want to start out by saying that does not affect me directly because I haven't sold any commodities to the folks that run USAID to be used overseas. But I can tell you that USAID is an arm of our government that uses soft power to ensure that we keep people fed and keep our name stamped on food that we send to countries that are less fortunate. And that ensures is probably a little bit hard word, makes an investment to make sure that other countries like China and Russia and Iraq and whatever other country that is not our friend accesses those countries of lesser means, that we're there first and we're able to make friends and build alliances with those folks. So that's what USAID was doing. Again, it doesn't affect me directly, but in the large scheme of things, $2 billion worth of agricultural products, some farmer somewhere sold those commodities. Tariffs. Oh boy. A real quick refresher on what tariffs are. Tariffs are a tax, and you've got that. They're taxing American people. How are they taxing American people? If I am a U.S. manufacturer, I'm a U.S. manufacturer. I build things. I hire U.S. workers. I pay U.S. taxes. I'm just going to really pick on you. The only tax guy in the room here, so I pay U.S. taxes. I pay U.S. property taxes. I hire U.S. labor. I pay U.S. I own a U.S. building. I built the building with U.S. labor. Da 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 da. And I need one part. I build these doodads. Okay. And to build those doodads, I need something from you, Dr. Patterson. I need one of these things to make this. So I can put that in there, and then I can sell this to you. Okay? It's a tray with a marker in it, because you really like trays with markers. Okay. When I have to buy this part, Dr. Patterson's going to sell me that part for $1. All right? Now, today, because his plant is in Mexico, his plant is somewhere else, his plant's in Vietnam, for God's sakes. Now I'm going to have to pay for Vietnam 67 cents more for this part to put it in this product. Okay? Now, what are we going to do with that money? Because you're not willing to pay now $1.67 or whatever I was going to charge you. You're not willing to pay more than that. Okay? You're done. So I can either pass that along to you. Here's your marker. I don't want your marker. You're too high a price now. So, by the way, I don't want to buy it now. Okay? So I can either pass that along to you, or I can eat it. But my margin is really thin. I mean, these things are cheap. The margin on these is like a penny a piece. Okay? I can either eat it, or I can go back to the country and make an argument with you. Okay? Or, by the way, you're not the country, you're the manufacturer. You just happen to manufacture in that country. You can move somewhere else. Move your plant somewhere else. All right? Or he can go to the president and grovel. And I know you're not going to do that. Okay. That's how tariffs work. Now, what happens in the agricultural business? Same thing that happened in 2018 was that countries retaliated against America's soft underbelly, which is agriculture. China did that Thursday morning, Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night, I don't know, whatever their morning was. That's what blew the stock market. That's what spooked the traders for the S&P 500, which many of your 401ks are attached to. That's what spooked the Dow to go down, because we know now in agriculture that China is going to tariff our beef, our poultry, and our corn. They said so, all right? Again. Or soybeans. Again. So how big of a deal is that? How big of a deal is that? About 47%, we'll just call it 50%, of U.S. soybeans go somewhere else, overseas. Approximately half-ish of that amount that goes overseas goes to China. Now all of a sudden, they're not going to want those beans, okay? They're going to put a higher price, so who's ever selling them to them has got to lower the price to make up the difference. But that's not the only thing that tariffs have done and Doge has done. And I'll finish up with this one. Some little known fact. A couple weeks ago, the administration decided that they were going to put docking fees, I'll call them docking fees, on ships that were made in China. Okay? If you're running a ship, if I buy a ship as a U.S. importer, or pick a country, if they are bringing stuff here, bringing stuff to the United States, the Trump administration is going to charge them between $1 and $1.5 million to dock their boat. All right? So, how many people in here are truckers? Be truckers, semi-truckers, all right? Guy in the back there. You know what you do. When you drive that truck out, you want to drive back with something, okay? You don't make any money deadhead. Okay, so you've got to drive back with something. So if we buy something from another country, and we're driving a Chinese ship, now all of a sudden, whatever we bring that you're buying, okay, it gets off at Long Beach, gets pushed out through the United States. Whatever you're buying now, that's going to be subject to $1 million to a $1.5 million dock fee. And that's going to get allocated out through what? They're going to then load that boat up, maybe, with soybeans and drive them back to China or whatever. The cost on that is going to be between 9 and 27 cents a bushel. That doesn't sound like a lot, but you know what the margin is on selling beans overseas for a shipper? Between 1 and 2 cents. So that is massive. So in the final thing, what's happened with tariffs this last week is the uncertainty. If you're a businessman or woman, if you're a farmer as a businessman or woman, you have to have some predictability on your costs. This is where we're at. We don't know where our costs are going to be. And by the way, everything that I buy as a farmer, what are the 3 biggest things that I buy? Steel, aluminum, and lumber. All right? Those are all going up. 25%, or 10%, or 37%, or 50%. I'm already at below the cost of production on every one of my major commodities, and I haven't even planted anything yet. We're in trouble. We're in trouble. And what the administration did Wednesday was simply folly. It was folly. You might have seen the Greek formula. Anybody see the Greek formula that they did? That was simply a recipe how to make a Greek hero. That's all it was, essentially. It was just the trade deficit of a country divided by what? Our imports that we import from the country. Just some goofy calculation that meant nothing. But let me explain the worst case scenario. If you're a poor country, Nicaragua, pick a country, Malaysia, blah, 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 blah. If you're a poor country and you don't have any money, but you raise bananas or you raise coffee, how many bananas and coffee do we raise in the United States? Somewhere between 0 and not much. We need that. But that country can't afford to buy anything off because they don't have any money. So we have a huge percentage trade deficit with them. All right? The administration, with their Greek recipe for heroes, made sure that that country had a huge tariff on coffee that you're going to pay for, on bananas that you're going to pay for. And the country's sitting there like, what? We're just sitting here. We don't have any money. We're in trouble.
Susan. Susan, for the last several months as Elon Musk and his band of merry 22-year-olds have been set loose in our government to destroy people's jobs for little or no reason. And we also know that a large percentage of people who work for the federal, state, and local governments are veterans. As someone involved in that community, what are you hearing from veterans? Because we're always told that veterans are Republicans. And I just wonder, is there an awakening or a sense of what's going on?
Yeah, you're right. I think 30% of the federal workforce is veterans. And but what I'm hearing from veterans, they're not happy. A lot of them feel like these jobs save their emotional well-being, because a lot of them come back from war with PTSD and they feel they need a purpose in something. So having a job where they're serving people again, serving the public again, is what keeps them going. And by some of them losing their jobs, they may end up ending their lives. And there's one thing I forgot to mention when I was talking earlier, and then a lot of these cuts are coming to the VA too. The DOJ wants to cut 80,000 jobs from the VA. And on the day that the PACT Act passed, the Biden administration added 51,000 jobs to the VA because there was such an influx of immediately hundreds of thousands of veterans signing up for VA health care and applying for PACT Act benefits. And as we know, the VA was already bogged down. Cases and appeals were taking forever. Takes forever to get an appointment. So these people were added to fully implement the PACT Act, make sure everything went smoothly, which not always it didn't, but it was getting better. And last summer, when someone pointed out to me that in Project 2025, my son-in-law's name was in it, on the chopping block. The Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson, honoring our PACT Act, was on the chopping block. So what happened back in February when the House and Senate were voting on the continuing resolution for the budget to keep the government open? They cut $28 billion from the PACT Act. David Joyce voted for the PACT Act in March of 2022. He was one of 34 Republicans who voted for it. We were very, very grateful. This February, he voted for the continuing resolution and to cut that money out of the PACT Act. Now, what that means is there's veterans that are going to lose benefits, or veterans that don't even know they're sick yet will not be admitted into the program because there won't be money there. Part of the funding was also set aside for research. DOJ cut 600 contracts with the VA. They have not told anyone, not even the Congress members or senators, what those cuts were. Nobody knows. There's no transparency. I know there was funding in there for research because we had 23 illnesses, presumptive illnesses, listed in the PACT Act, which meant if you had one of those illnesses and you served in one of the qualifying countries, you were automatic. The VA could not deny you. We had since added maybe 10 more illnesses. We were trying to add more. I told you My son-in-law had an autoimmune disease, also aside from cancer. There are no autoimmune diseases listed in the PACT Act. We know veterans who are in Iraq and Afghanistan who have rare autoimmune diseases. We have had researchers working on it, trying to get those illnesses added so that those men and women aren't left behind. It killed us to leave them behind. We knew on the day that bill passed we were leaving them behind, but we knew the money was there to get them taken care of in the future. Now, since 2022, over 1.5 million veterans have been approved for the PACT Act. Their claims have been approved. Prior to the PACT Act passing, 78% of birth PIC claims were denied by the VA. Today, 74% are approved because it's automatic. And congressmen like David Joyce, who originally voted for the PACT Act, but obviously regrets his decision to take care of our sick and dying veterans, let me remind you, these veterans were not killed by the enemy. They were poisoned by our government. Your taxpayer dollars, if you paid taxes when we went into Iraq, you paid to poison my son-in-law and thousands or maybe millions of other veterans. And part of the PACT Act requires toxic screenings for any veteran who is in the VA healthcare or any who have signed up or served in Iraq or Afghanistan or in a few other countries. Those screenings take place. There have been over 6 million screenings done. Almost 3 million have shown that they have a problem from the toxic exposure, that they could maybe come down with cancer even if they're not sick right now, but they can be watched. We don't know if this funding cut's going to stop those screenings. And those screenings also take place every 5 years. So by cutting the employees from the VA, cutting the funding to the PACT Act, we are going to hurt veterans. Some of them will even die. It will go back to what it was when my son-in-law was sick. We didn't have the PACT Act. He was denied medication that they found to mitigate some unusual pain he was having, and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. The drug cost $2,000. The VA denied him. They said, you didn't prove that your illness and your cancer is combat related. So they denied him. My son-in-law begged my daughter and I to kill him because he was in so much pain. This is because the VA denied him. This is because there was no PACT Act. My son-in-law applied for comprehensive caregiver benefits so that my daughter could take an unpaid leave of absence from her job and care for him. The VA denied him. They told him, you did not prove that your lung cancer was caused by your service in a combat zone. I can't tell you how much suffering my kids went through, and me, because I had to move in to help. I found my daughter on the floor. She would collapse on the floor. She would go 3-4 days without sleep. She has a young daughter to care for, working a full-time job, take 24/7 care of her dying husband, who every time there was an emergency, it was always the middle of the night. I found her on the floor, I don't know how many times, exhausted. And one day I remember, and I could never get this out of my head, I just laid down on the floor next to her and tried to calm her down. And I hear my son-in-law vomiting and crying. And I look over, he's got a bloody nose again. He's throwing up. I had to leave my daughter on the floor and go take care of him. The oxygen tube is falling out of his nose because if you have a bloody nose, it doesn't stay in there. So I'm shoving it in his mouth in between the times he's throwing up so that he didn't die right then and there. This is what happens when congressmen like Dave Joyce vote to defund the very same bill that was put in place to take care of these veterans that we poisoned. And if you write to him or call him, you demand that he protect the PACT Act. Thank you. So parents,
Proving once again that politicians may have forgotten the policy is personal. Everyone sitting in this room has a story. Kind of a cry fest in here too. Anyway, it is real. And I think that's why we say the policy is personal. If we don't tell those stories to people that are removed from us, who sit in DC and go to their fundraising dinners and get whisked around in SUVs, etc., then they get away with ignoring the very real people who are sitting here today and who show up every day at their jobs, and we can't allow them to do that. So tell your story, please. Question is going to be for John Kennedy. It is reported that tariffs will generate $650 billion for the U.S. It's going to be a boom. Boom! Can you shed some light on that?
Go, John, go.
Boom, there it goes. There goes my 401k. Don't pay attention to it, right? Keep your head in the sand. That's what they want. Don't pay attention. Keep your head in the sand. They're nothing but a tax. It's nothing but a tax. And I see it every day. You want to know about the local impact? Go into any county agency, anywhere. The people who come to me, they're not just taxpayers. They're you. They're human. There's context. There's a story. Every one of them has a story about how they're getting by, how they're struggling to make ends meet. Where am I going to find food to put on the table? Seniors, especially. John, I want to die in this house. I know I could sell. Valuation went up, right? Right? Supposedly a good thing. No. Where the hell am I going to move, Mr. Kennedy? Where am I going to live? In a little hut somewhere? Is that what I can afford? Right? No, I want to die in my house. You know how many times I've heard that over the last year and a half? At county fairs, everywhere? John, I'm not going anywhere. Help me. Help me stay in my house. Can you provide any property tax relief? What can the state do? What can the state do? What can the federal government do to provide overall relief so your dollar goes further, right? Not that it loses power, not that the dollar declines in value, that it's up. That I can spend more. My dollar goes further. That should be the goal, right? Not the opposite. What the hell is going on here? Why in the world would you use tariffs, a tax on people, regular folks, all of us, right? Why would you do that? Doesn't make any economic sense, does it? None. Zero. Zilch. Have you heard from an economist who has said, oh, tariffs, that's a brilliant idea? I have yet to hear one defend it, because you're not going to find any. So why is he doing it? What's the end game for these guys, for the monarch? Because he's a king. Let's just acknowledge that. Can we not acknowledge that the man is a king? He is. He is. Right. No taxation without representation, right? I mean, yeah. It's a political cudgel and nothing less than that. That's what it is. Because when we're all together we're strong, divided we're not. And again, I'll keep going back. What does he want? What is Trump doing here? What are they doing here? Divide and conquer. Come to the White House and broker a deal with me. Broker a deal. Industry, bankers, UAW, Not picking on UAW, but they want unions to be destroyed. They want all of us to give up our power voluntarily to genuflect, to give fealty to the king. And in exchange, what the hell does he get from that? Right? What's the calculus on his part? Oh, Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Big Industry Guy, you promise you're not going to fund any of those pesky Democrats or anybody who opposes your opinion on any of this stuff, right? That's the concession I'm looking for. That's what he wants. Divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. It's not about making America great again. It's about making you subjects again. That's what the end goal is. Where we fight one another, we are divided, and we don't speak out collectively. And I don't think anybody in this room is going to go quietly with a good night. I don't think so. Thank you.
Just to add a little bit of reality, I think, to some of what the Trump administration is claiming, that all of this money, which is the money that we are going to pay, is somehow going to also force American companies to reinvest in manufacturing in America. And we all want that. I don't think there's anybody here that opposes making things in America. But the reality is that the cost to build plants, take down land, construction, financing, and the one thing that they always forget is you can bring those jobs back maybe, but American labor is much more expensive than the labor in the countries that are making those goods. So it sounds really good, but something has to give. Do you say to American workers, well, hey, we're going to bring the manufacturing back, but we can't pay you as much as you need to live on. And we know, everybody should just make the sacrifice. It's going to be painful for just a little while, that's all. Or do we realize that the prices of those goods are higher than the price that you're paying today for those same goods when they have a combination of parts and pieces and labor from multiple countries? So there's no perfect solution, but don't forget that our labor costs are higher too. So anyway, it's all that fuzzy math that we used to talk about. Dr. Mahler, I have a question for you. Oh, well, we're actually going to break at noon, and if you need to take a break, you're welcome to go use restrooms if you want refreshments, etc. But if you want to, go?
Yeah. Good.
We'll keep going till noon. Okay, we're going to keep going till noon, then we will have a break. Dr. Mahler, what can we do as Americans to help, or maybe even just build awareness of the plight of those 20,000 children stolen from Ukraine by Russia? Is there anything we can do?
This is my first town hall. I must have slept through the speech lecture during medical school. Yeah, our lectures are a lot more boring than this. What can we do? Well, I wish we had the government supporting us. Talking about divide and conquer. That's Putin's plan for years. Years. The reason I'm coming to these things is to advocate about the evil that's going on in this world. And we need to educate. Some people don't, I think there's people out there. I was getting my blood drawn like a year ago. And the nurse, which I knew because I was at the hospital I was at, and she said, oh, I hadn't seen you. And I go, well, I'm doing volunteer work. I go to Ukraine. And she goes, is the war still going on? So, obviously I didn't know anything like that. But education. So first of all, I think we have a good crowd today. I think you understand some things. Brings up history. History repeats itself, and our job is to stop that bad history. the children. Our organization, Cleveland Maidan Association, part of our funds go to a organization called Save Ukraine. So they have lawyers that, and a system which I still can't figure out how they somehow get some of those children back. And it costs like $3,000 to somehow grab them somewhere where they're in Russia, and they need to get them back through Belarus into the Baltics and then back to Ukraine. You know, a lot of those kids are all orphans that they stole from orphanages, and some of them they actually stole from parents in occupied territory. I don't have a good answer of how we can help. I mean, obviously everybody needs money, but we need the government to, I mean, we have our issues here, but we need our government to stand strong. I mean, one thing that I really would love is that frozen funds that those Russian oligarchs have, just give it to our good government to use to stop Russian aggression. 5 bullets, 5 missiles. Bring back the children. It'll cost us zero. It'll cost us zero. And I bet those oligarchs, you know, yeah, they fall out of windows once in a while, but if all of them stood up, they would stop it. I hate to say money talks. Yeah. I think the big picture is we know what the evil is, and we need to talk about it. We need to keep it up. Whatever the injustices that are going on, and I hate to say that, you know, I say sometimes I drink the Ukrainian Kool-Aid, that, you know, the injustices that are going there are catastrophic. I mean, me walking through the hospitals there, and you see young people. I mean, here when I was practicing medicine, you'd see a lot of older people with chronic diseases. I'm walking through the hospitals, it's a small percentage of the chronic diseases, and I see young people with illnesses, with wounds in the hallways, amputees. So, yeah, I think today I came with mindset of education. Talk to your neighbors, talk to people, talk to you at your clubs, whatever, all these things that we're talking about. We need to educate. And if we really know the truth, obviously there's a lot of fake news going on. And since I know the situation in Ukraine, I mean, you can't watch the news sometimes in the evening. You have to watch some type of cartoons or something, because you can't fall asleep. I get all that news first thing in the morning as I'm, going through my emails fill up at night, because Ukraine is sending me emails of their needs. I'm sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent. I didn't talk about the kids, but yeah, that's kind of a big thing. But all this that we're talking about, we're talking about the future. We care about our kids. We want to know that next generation to have education, to live in a peaceful, just world. Can you take that from me again?
Yeah, I want to take the education comment and why that's critically important to this, and some figures I want to share with you, and then something that just happened 2 days ago. You know, the federal government is looking to transfer the whole notion of its Title IX and Title I funds. And when I want you to know that when the president made his remarks to eliminate the Department of Education, you know who was there at the signing? DeWine was. And this is what DeWine said, and I'm going to get to the education here real quick. DeWine said, "I joined President Trump and several governors in support of the proposal. By giving states more authority over education, we will have the flexibility to focus our effort on tailoring an educational experience that is best for our children and meets Ohio's needs, rather than trying to chase federal priorities." How long have they been empowering Columbus, and what have they done for education? Nothing. But wait, it gets worse. I want you to know, and I'm prepped for the federal cuts to education, should that come. I did some research here on some of the funding for the schools. Anybody from Berkshire here? Berkshire, 9% of your federal budget, 9% comes from the federal government for the IDA and some of the underprivileged programs it does. Anybody from Chardon City? Yeah, 13% of your government, the federal government's budget comes to your district. Anybody here from Kent, Portage County? 13% of your budget comes from the federal government. And then, oh my goodness gracious, Madison. Anybody Lake County? 15%. 15%. Where's that money going to come from? And then some numbers that really hurt. Cleveland Metro. Anybody here from Cleveland Metro? 24%. Ashtabula City. 25%. Kathy? You know the number is for Warren City? 28%. 28%. Now, who's going to make up that difference? And who is going to educate? And now I want to get into what I really wanted to move, speaking of education. Just the other day, there was a movement to cut education to schools, and this is a federal order, and this comes from Project 2025, by the way. They're going to withhold federal funding from public schools unless state education officials verify the elimination of all programs that it said unfairly promoted diversity, equity, and inclusion. All right, now here's where it gets real. Inclusion part. How many of you, because we all want to be included, everybody has a place. There's a place for everybody in America, right? Now let me tell you, as a social studies teacher, why this bothers me. Who did not have the right to vote until 1920? If you would stand up, stand up! Come on, all you ladies, stand up. Now let me ask you, who in here is of Irish descent? Gentlemen, if that includes you, stand up, because we discriminated against you. Who is of German descent? Stand up. We discriminated against you. And oh my goodness, I'm just getting started. We discriminated against Catholics, did we not? We discriminated against Muslims, did we not? And my goodness gracious, should I keep going? I was coming to you, sister. I was coming to you. Where are my brothers and sisters of African American descent? Exactly. My point, and the rest of you gentlemen, are you from the Mayflower folks? Oh, you are. You guys descend. No, I know you've been discriminated against. My point, yeah, I'm just teasing with you. Have a seat. I did when I was talking earlier. I did, of course. You name the religion. You name the. Let me ask you something. Do you know what businesses used to hang in their shops in the 1840s, 1850s? A sign that said Nina, N-I-N-A. You know what that means? That's right. And no Irish need apply.
Thanks.
And then what was the derogatory term we used for immigrants? W-O-P. Absent, without papers. Without papers. And now look what we're doing. We're building walls instead of bridges. My point to you is this. If we don't educate our students, if we don't invest in them, and if we don't invest in each other, then we are designed to go down the rat hole of ignorance and allow things like this administration to come to power. Education liberates us. Education moves us forward. And we have to do this as a people, and we have to do it as one.
this is a very good question, and maybe Dave would like to know the answer too. So question, did any of the panel members happen to dial in to Congressman Joyce's Town Hall about a week ago? Did any of you happen to do that? No, I have better things to do maybe? Okay, I did, and how many of you dialed in? Okay, so when we were all there together but blindly because we couldn't see one another, you know, later, maybe afternoon, we could get some of your opinions too about what you've heard. From my own personal point of view, what I heard was someone who is very, very cordial and very, very good at dodging a question and not answering with any kind of specifics. So on the example of Ukraine, as Congressman Joyce said, I've always supported Ukraine. But has he ever stood up to the debacle that's going on and taken a public stand? No. A little lacking in courage. I'm sorry. Oh my gosh. I'm so loud that anyway, I'm trying not to be loud. Anyway, and when someone asked him about the Doge cuts and how abrupt and how this is an unelected person who's been let loose in our government, he said, well, maybe that's not the way to do it, but I agree with Elon, and we need to give him time. So I think, you know, it's important to dial in, and if there is another teletown hall ever, or you want to go see him tonight at Tanglewood Country Club, you might be able to send a message then to Mr. Joyce. Anyway, any of you want to address it? Oh yeah, and he only spoke for 30 minutes, so I don't know how often he does teletown halls, but all you got was 30. Kind of sad. Let's see here. How many veterans and parents or family of veterans do we have in this room? Thank you. To acknowledge your and the bravery, the courage, the sacrifice, and the sense of service that all of you have to our country. So we have some other questions, but we're getting close to 12, and maybe a good time to break. Go ahead.
All right, so what we're going to do is we'll take a 15-minute break. Restrooms there and here. We also have lots of snacks if anybody wants to contribute to that, help us offset the cost of the room and this thing today. And when we come back, we will be asking live questions in addition to our written questions. And please fill out your comment or question for Representative Joyce so that we can collect them. Thank you.
How do you go about recording?
So typically we take probably like the main idea or something big that happened, or try and grab a couple big things. So I'll likely talk about obviously how many people gathered, because I feel like that's a big thing, and then go through my transcript and see if there's any big topics, like Ukraine has been a big one, and tariffs. So
Does that seem to be the big issues that people care about? Read your guys' page.
I would say most of them are more concerned with the administration, but obviously we don't have a member here who can actively answer to the administration. So in the people are very concerned about tariffs. I think there's people writing letters in that are concerned about that, and about Doge. So any questions that people answer about Doge, people like to read.
Are there any things that you're going to soon that have people who can answer those questions? I know we were supposed to have them here, but obviously they didn't show up.
Right. As of right now, no. So we try and go to local things, so that's why it's difficult. And we're not going. We weren't invited to like the dinner with Beck, where it could have been an opportunity for them to push some questions and answers out to the community, but the local media wasn't invited. So.
Of course. Are you doing anything with the tin walls coming to Lorraine and Youngstown in the future?
No, because that's not our coverage area.
Try not to talk about it.
Oh, you're fine.
You guys are going to have plenty of material.
That's for sure. I'm just recording. I don't actually do anything other than just push the live button.
What paper are you with?
She's the paper. I'm just recording.
I'm with the Chagrin Valley Times. Yeah. Do you live in the area?
Yeah, we live in Chagrin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm with the Chagrin Valley Times, and we have another reporter who will be at the protest.
In the park?
Yeah, in the park. Yep.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Do you read? Do you read every day? Do you read the paper?
Robin!
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thank you for being a reader.
You gotta buy newspapers.
We appreciate it. We do. Right.
I was worried about it coming in. I was like, oh my gosh, am I making enemies or friends? Well, between you and me, you know, I prefer to have a friend. I think friends is a good idea. You get a whip. Are you doing this for the party or?
Yeah.
What was the Wi-Fi password? I know you told me, Tony. I can't remember.
Yeah, I'm doing this for the jog event.
For jog?
It's live right now, but it's just there's nothing to show, you know.
Oh, that's lucky. Oh, look, I have this.
Yeah, it swivels.
You know, we got a dinner coming up, Bill.
Huh?
How's it working?
Good.
I have one question. Other than waiting to the next election,
If I could
we
have
do
everyone's
something now?
attention, could you please start to make your way back to your seats so that we can go to the question and answer part of our program today? Thank you.
Where's the petition?
All right, everybody. We need you to sit down so we can start the question and answer portion from the people in the audience. Okay. So we have a couple of announcements before we start. And if you have a question, let us know so we can bring you the microphone. Okay? Kathy?
Okay, real quick, I want to revisit what you're supposed to do with this postcard. This is to be mailed to Dave Joyce. So, with that in mind, you need to write on one side and leave an area to put Congressman Joyce with the address. This could be mailed either to the DC address or Mentor office, and you need room for a stamp. That's what this is for. So you can, whatever you want to say to him, appropriate language, of course. You will sign your name and your city. So I would put Kathy DeCristofaro, Niles, Ohio, so that he knows I'm a constituent that lives in his district. But make sure that it's set up where there's room for the address and a stamp. Okay? These were given on your way in. If you don't have one, you could grab one on your way out. Okay?
All right. Justice O'Neill, you have a question?
I'm a registered nurse, and I started my career here at Geauga Regional Hospital, and I spent 12 years in the pediatric ER at Hillcrest. Last week, David Joyce voted to reduce Medicaid by $800 billion. And I'd like to know how everybody in the room feels about, many of us think, well, Medicaid is for people. Let me tell you something differently. I worked in an emergency room for 12 years. Never once did I ever ask anybody if they have insurance, because there is a federal law that says if you're seriously injured or you're seriously sick, they must treat you. Never once did I wonder if any of my patients had insurance, because it was none of my business. But I would like to ask the panel, are you aware, and what are we going to do about the fact that when Medicaid cuts emergency room visits, the regional hospitals are doomed?
Thank you, Ben.
I'm a doctor, not an administrator, and I think that us, medical caregivers, we are not the same mind frame as our administrators. Both administrators locally and nationally, we can say. I don't think it's really a question to be answered, because you know what the answer is. The answer, we cannot cut these funds. Agreed. I mean, health comes first. What is the government for? To support us to have quality of life, to be healthy, to be educated, and to be protected. Protected internally, and what I'm here for today is also externally. We're concerned that what's going on in the world, I sometimes, you know, everybody has their argument and rationalization. But a lot of Ukrainians that are fighting right now, they're saying they think they're protecting Europe. And they're protecting Europe, and Europe is just America's neighbor. Yeah, we got a big ocean, but you know, we're not in the 16th century where it takes I don't know how long to get from Russia to the U.S. and we don't have that interconnection. You know, nobody was, I don't know, I guess there were terror figure right back then, but it wasn't so impactful. Yeah, off topic. Back to medicine. Yes, we need funding. We need to be properly watching how everything is spent. Yeah, health is important. Thanks.
All right, I'm going to piggyback a little bit on that. So at the local level, you make cuts to Medicaid, right? The support for health care and for a lot of folks who are struggling just to get by. Again, like what I said before, when a taxpayer comes into my office to pay their half tax or their full year tax or whatever, I'm not looking at them as a taxpayer. They're a human. And when stuff gets cut, Bill, when programs are cut, guess what? On the totem pole of things that I am worried about paying for, where does property tax go? To the bottom. Because I need food too, just to get by. So the double whammy is that what just got cut? Akron Food Bank. 2 to 3 million pounds of food. Right? Cleveland Food Bank. Cut. Oh, so, Mr. Joyce, I have a question. Where the hell are you? I have a question for you. Does that mean we no longer have folks living in poverty? Or folks going without? People, we no longer have that problem? No. It's just the opposite. We're going to have longer lines locally for the food pantries. And they will clear out not in an hour, they'll run through their supply in 5 minutes. Right? You've all worked food pantries locally and whatnot. You've seen what it already looks like. Guess what? If you're not in line 2-3 hours ahead of time at the local food pantry, you ain't getting it. You're going without. Right? So all of these things have a local impact. All of them. And that's why, again, we have to stay together. We've got to stay united. We've got to stay in the light and fight.
All right, I'm going to try to get some questions from the audience. Uh-oh, Ben.
Thanks, Jan.
I'm going to hold this so that you can't hold it too long.
Okay. The question for the panel revolves around some of the interconnectedness of the policies that are being destroyed. For instance, about 8 or 10 months ago, I was in Argentina and Brazil, and what are they doing? They're planting soybeans. And how are they doing it in Brazil? They're cutting down the rainforest, and you know the consequence of losing a rainforest. Also, my son happens to work for a consultancy which helps federally qualified health centers. Now, getting rid of the Medicaid money means that where are people who have no insurance all of a sudden going to go? They're going to go to the emergency room, the same emergency room that you go to, and your emergency services are going to be compromised. So really this question is to John and Chris, because they deal with people who are very often not democratically inclined, but who care about these issues, because those are issues that affect them directly. So just your advice from your experience of how can we talk to people and tell them how they are in fact affected by what's happening with these issues.
Well done, Janet. If only Terry was here to dance with you. And he is. So I spent a lot of time in my tenure with USDA in rural areas. And I live in a rural area, Jefferson, a town of 3,000, and I taught rural kids. And I know that some of my neighbors, I still see the flags, I still see the bumper stickers, I still see the yard signs. I passed them on the way here today. Some of those people will never get to. And you can't spend your time and energy. It's the ones who are reasonable. And I still think there are reasonable Republicans who can shall decide. There are a lot of independents. In fact, if you look at the numbers, independents outnumber, at least in my county, Republicans and Democrats alike. So, what is the message, and how do we reach them? The further away you get from the center, left or right, I think the more rabid the base becomes, but the less likely it is that you can appeal to the voters you need to get elected. And the less likely you are to advance policies that are good for all when you move to the right and center. So what are these, and I'm getting your drift here, what do these rural folks care about? They care about their communities, they care about their kids, and if you can logically explain, and John, I think you can tell that being in Portage County, if you can explain to them in very sane tones, sometimes chewing. When I was in the State House, I learned to chew the inside of my cheek very well, because I was in the deep minority. And talk about a shared vision. What do we want to make this country to be? A light of hope, a place where all are welcome, a place where everybody has opportunity, a place where there's a place for everybody. Instead of dividing us, and that's what they're doing, we have more in common than what we have different. And it's going to take an effort, and before I'm done, not this time, but I'm going to give them their homework assignment, what they have to do. Fair enough? The old teacher's coming out again. My point is, we have to be patient, we have to have those conversations, and I think those who are willing to hear the message will receive it.
Thank you, John. I promise I'm not going to talk too long about this, but I have a lot of experience talking to folks on the other side. And I'll just stress the point about how many unaffiliated folks we have out there. It's the vast majority in Portage County. 80,000 unaffiliated. We've got about 11,000, 12,000 Dems, 14,000 some Republicans. The rest are up for grabs, right? And we need to persuade each and every one of them. And I guess I have a bit of an ego, because I feel like if you take me, if I'm in the room and I have a chance to talk to you and listen to you and push back like John's talking, push back, listen, don't lose your critical focus, but push back and say, well, no, hold on. I was at a Farm Bureau meeting last week, right? We know who our I love our farmers. I'm a member of the Farm Bureau in Portage County. And I'm sitting at a table before I get up to speak. There's like 10, 12 folks there. And folks really grilled me on being the unicorn, the Democrat, the only Democrat in all of Portage County government, right? Right? And Mr. Kennedy, we really like you. We really like you. But, maybe this Doge thing is going to be okay. Maybe we just need to be patient. We need to be patient. Just give him a chance, Mr. Kennedy. And so I listened to that, because you know what? These are good people. These are folks who are trying to do the right thing. They're getting by like the rest of us, but they don't ever hear someone give the message that John's talking about and the rest of us are talking about. They need to hear it. A lot of them have never been exposed to the alternative, the middle of the road solution, because they're getting one source of media, and that's it. Right? Our job is to listen. Like I said before, there's a lot of folks out there who don't share all our values. But John's right. 99.9% of our DNA is the same stuff. We all share it. We're all in the same bucket together. We have so much more in common than we do that divides us. And I always push back and say, now wait a minute. I hear you on that, but have you considered this? Have you considered the fact that this cattle farmer lost his market, and we're all farmers here, right? He lost his market. He doesn't have a buyer this year. What do you think about that's Doge, right? We got to be able to lean into it and not do this, not refrain from it. We got to lean into it. We got to help inform and educate and send out that message that I'm here for you. I'm not going to agree on a lot of it, but I'm going to talk to you. And I'm going to look at you like a human being. People respect that. People respect the hell out of that. Showing up matters, especially when you're amongst folks who don't share all your core values or your vision, right? But they give you credit for showing up and taking the heat. We can't be afraid of taking the heat.
Oh, you have no idea. All right. I'm going to disagree with my friends a little bit on the panacea that appears to be independent, undeclared voters. Jim Jordan is my congressman. Okay? I know the mathematics. As a statistician, I know the mathematics in independent, undeclared voters, and it isn't rosy. This is not a pool of a panacea to give. Because 78% of those folks will continue to vote for Jim Jordan as well. The only thing that means is that they're not participating in the primary process. That's all that means. Okay, so we've got more work to do. Don't sit there. I've got 24,000 undeclared voters. Don't sit there and think we've got 24,000 folks that are malleable. They are not in Shelby County. Maybe they are here, but they're not in Shelby County, in Jim Jordan's district. Okay, so let me tell you what we've done in Shelby County. It'll be as quick and brief as possible, I swear. Shared values. Thank you very much for saying that, because that's what we brought to Shelby County, is to demonstrate what the Democratic Party was in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s in Shelby County, when we had 50% or better of the countywide offices. I went back, I got 55 Democrats in the room out of 1,100, which is pretty good. I said, all right, we're going to determine what our values are. What are our values? What do we believe as Democrats? Because we have been reframed, okay, from the national zeitgeist. We've been reframed as something that we are not in Shelby County. What we are is about hard work. We're about honesty. We're about doing the job. We're about respecting the flag. We're about saying the Pledge of Allegiance. And all of those things, we sat down and determined what they were, and we wrote them down on a poem card. And just like this, we've got them, and I can tell you exactly what our values are. Now, every one of my supporters and folks in the party now can demonstrate those values because they can tell what a Democrat is. I had a hell of a time getting them to even say what a Democrat was. I said, why are you a Democrat? Oh, I don't know. They'd give you some thing about, liberty and justice and all this jazz and 35,000 feet. No, I want to know why you're a Democrat. Can you tell me why you're a Democrat? I told him, I said, this is why I'm a Democrat, because I want to be part of a party that looks for solutions for people, not retribution and revenge against individuals. Yeah! Just that quick. Just that quick. If you can't say it, in 6.8 seconds, you don't get an elevator speech. You don't get 3 floors. You sure as hell don't get 35 floors to tell why you're a Democrat. Okay. So when we talk to people, we got to lift those folks up. We got to demonstrate, and the way we do that in Shelby County is each month we have a Citizens of the Month. And we go out in our community and we say, what are you doing? Do you work at the hospital? Are you a veteran? Are you a law enforcement officer? Are you a farmer or whatever? And we demonstrate that through our social media, lift those folks up, and you know what they come back and say? They say, people come to me on the street now, and they say, I didn't realize you were a Democrat. One voter at a time. Shared values. Now, I'll wrap it up with this about rural America, what I deal with. Democrats make a number of terrible mistakes about this. Number one, they blow in as a candidate, and they blah, 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 they come in, whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. But they make the mistake of believing the same thing that some 21-year-old poli-sci kid working for a consultant told him that he was working in Washington, D.C., that thinks agriculture is American Gothic, the guy standing there with a pitchfork. It's not. When you talk to rural people, you got to remember these things. Two things. It is two different groups. Rural America is different than farmers. It's two different messages. In rural America, we want to talk about good water, we want to talk about sewage, we want to talk about schools. When you're talking to farmers, you want to talk about prices, interest rates, policy, whatever, okay? Tariffs. Those are the things you want to talk about. So don't be talking about this ethereal stuff out there, because when you're talking to a group of farmers, it's just different. All right? So we got a long way to go. We do it one person at a time. Final thing I'll say. You have two, as Democrats, if you're a Democrat or you're whatever you are here, if you want to influence farmers, you've got two beautiful opportunities right here. Your treasurer gave you one of them just a little bit ago. I gave you the other one earlier when I said advocate for agriculture. Advocate, stand up, write a letter to the editor, say that you're a Democrat, say that you're the chair of the party, say that you are somebody that is advocating in the party. Make sure they know you're a Democrat and you're standing up for what's happening in tariffs. You're standing up for the food fight that we're going to end up blowing back on agriculture. You're standing up for what President Trump and DOGE is doing for USDA and doing to USDA, which is making everybody poor. You're going to stand up. The second thing is this. What a golden opportunity. Just tripped over this literally 45 minutes ago. You said that there's a bill that property taxes we're going to come back and we're going to be, I'll say controlled, divvied out, whatever you want to call it, by the local level. All right, I've got all Republican office holders with us except one. We've been able to hold on to the recorder. Okay? Everyone is a Republican. And I'm sitting there listening and I say, oh my God, we're going to have letters to the editor in Shelby County all about lowering property taxes, and I can do it. Where's the best place to lobby? The best place to lobby is locally. Something that means something exactly to you. Don't say, I want to save democracy and write a letter to Joyce. He doesn't care. How's he going to answer? What's and if as a party, if an advocate can say, I'm worried about property taxes for farmers, I'm worried about property taxes for seniors on fixed income going up as their houses raise because of inflation and all of this stuff. I'm worried about that, and I'm lobbying my county commissioners to do something about it. Okay? It's a gift. It's a damn gift. It's fell right into our pocket because we'll be the only ones standing up and advocating for seniors, advocating for rural America, advocating for farmers in the county. Don't let that pass you by. Advocate. It's like I'm in the arts. So anybody seen the movie Ragtime or the play Ragtime? Heard that? One of the lines in there, in one of the stories, go out and tell your story. Let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear you. Say it with me. Make them hear you. Go out and tell your story. Let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear you.
Okay, we got time for a couple more questions to get this lady here.
Okay, I'm going to continue on with the medical issue. I am a cancer doctor, full disclosure, and I want to get at the cuts to medical research funding. And so I'm going to allow our panel to comment, but I want to do a little rapid fire for Representative Joyce first. First of all, Representative Joyce, can you name the 5 NCI-funded cancer research cooperative groups? I can. Can you name what the local affiliations of all of our institutions are? I can. Do you know how that impacts our local institutions by cutting that funding? I can tell you that. And do you know what the NCORP system is? I can tell you that. Do you know what the NCORP sites in Ohio are? I can tell you that. And how do you justify cutting off research for funding for cancer and for every other illness out there and devastating the pipeline of new researchers coming up in development through those organizations?
Thank you very much. So, our speakers tonight have given you a bunch of things that you should write on your comment cards for Congressman Joyce. And if you want more papers, we got lots of them. So do you want to write 3, 4, 5 different comment cards for Congressman Joyce? Just do it. And we'll make sure they get turned in, because these are questions that he should be answering, and unfortunately he's not here with us today to answer them. So, okay.
I have a question for whoever gave the question of why should we help Ukraine. I say, why wouldn't we? I was raised to help the person next to me. A farmer, if you have a good plan, ask me. I will be there. It doesn't have to affect me personally. I don't have to have a benefit. If you need help as an individual, I'm big in animal rescue. I've done that my whole life. I will be there. So it's a silly question. Don't speak for me. I pay taxes. I'm a citizen. And I'm tired of, it wasn't brought up once or by that person. There is so much money out there. We need people to pay taxes who are making a fortune off of us, Elon, and et cetera, et cetera. But anyhow, my question to Joyce is, when I'm in my 60s, and in grade school I was taught, we always asked, how could Nazi Germany have come about? I mean, everybody in the 60s, that was the big thing. My father was in the occupation of Germany, other relatives fought, and the answer my dad gave, and I was taught, was people were silent. So I was taught never to be silent, and that has served me my whole life. And the Paul Simon song, when I was young, that always stuck with me, silence like a cancer grows. And I think you'd appreciate this. You spoke of kings, and recently, as I listened to the song over and over, and the people bowed and prayed to the neon king they made. That is relevant now. But about silence. It broke my heart seeing Zelensky in the White House having to bite his tongue and not say what he wanted to. So for me, I do not live a silent life. I will speak for him and all the others who cannot speak. Fuck you, Trump. You useless piece of shit. You son of a bitch. Go to hell.
Hello, my name is Zakharaya Shevchenko Hermanyuk. I'm a second generation Ukrainian American. And my grandparents had the same experience that your parents had. I'm actually not going to talk about that. I have a simple question for Representative Joyce, because I'm also an attorney. And something that has not been discussed here today, but quite candidly is the elephant in the room, is the attack on our judicial system. And I just have a very simple question, and that is, will you uphold your oath of office to respect the rule of law? Because to tie things together, and I would also ask this of our panelists, is that when court orders are ignored, what's the game plan? When we show up to polling places in 2026 and we find that there are Katushki, and Dr. Mahale, we know what that means. Katushki are thugs. Katushki are Proud Boys. Katushki are those paramilitary folks. Fascists, yeah. What is the game plan if that happens? Because the same thing that is happening here in our country now is happening in Russia in 1999, and we see where that went, was happening in Ukraine under Yanukovych, is happening in Hungary. You spoke about it, education. This is where education matters. And so, again, my question, and also to the veterans in the room, my mother's a retired lieutenant colonel. And as an officer of the judicial branch of government, and to all the veterans, will you uphold your oath to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution? Because it is under attack.
Thank you.
No cuts to research, and we grew up, we knew the education of our government with the judicial, legislative, and executive branch. That's why we're all here today, and we need to continue, and we got to get our friends and neighbors. There is no other choice. There is no other choice. We have to do it.
All right. Okay. I love this. This is my Hallmark movie watching sweatshirt. I just want to say, as the only person of color, basically here, I guess that's the thing today. Please do not let any biases or prejudice deter you from standing up from what is affecting all of us. They're so right when they're telling you that we have much more in common than we have differences. We all eat, we all drink, we all have to drive a car, we all have gone to work, we all eventually will be dependent on Social Security at some point, or our pensions, our 401ks will be affected. We all have children. We all hope to have grandchildren if we don't already. We all love, we all bleed, we all get sick. Everybody, we all do. The color of my skin does not change all of those things. So please, please do not let that be your determining factor when it comes to fighting for all of our rights. All of them. Thank you for being here, and thank you for standing up. I know sometimes it's difficult, but it is so important because behind all of the fake arguments. We talked about this in the Democratic leadership. All the fake arguments about why people didn't vote for Kamala, why they voted for Trump. Underneath that is racism and dividing us. And this is the retaliation from us electing our wonderful President Barack Obama. And we must stand up and say no more.
Hello, everyone. I am a Lake County resident. I want to know if you ever are aware of what happened this past week in the Senate. It came up where they wanted the tariffs off of Canada. We got 4 Republicans to come over so it would pass. Now it goes to the House. Have you learned lately of the cockamamie issue that Speaker Johnson says this congressional year is 1 day long? That means they are given 15 days to discuss and then bring it to the floor, vote on it. He's stopping it so that the Democrats couldn't pull some Republicans over and at least try to stop the tariffs going to our friend Canada. I mean, where do they come up with this stuff? It is asinine, insane, and I am just beyond belief. Mad as hell. Remember that movie? Mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
Hello, this is for the medical doctor. I'd like to segue on where you went with if they cut Medicare, if they cut Medicaid. I'm a local firefighter, paramedic, and a nurse. And thank you. I'm appalled at what I see because the safety net for our impoverished, for our Section 8, for our Medicare, and all of our patients, unfortunately, the safety net is the EMS service and the fire service, as well as the emergency rooms. And my fear, we're on the verge of collapse nationally now within ERs and emergency services. My fear is that by the time we successfully undo this, and we will, my fear is it will already collapse. And I don't know if you have any insight into where to go. The other day, President Trump and the legislature, I guess not the legislature, cut lots of funding to the fire service, including firefighter cancer research. I don't know if you have any input on that, but my fear is that the system will collapse. And if we get rid of all the funding, much less all the employees, we're going to be the only thing left. And we're not going away. We don't leave our people uncovered. We take care of our people.
Thank you.
Like I said, I'm not an administrator, and I really not even come prepared for that. But I think there's too many good people out there, good medical caregivers. We're not going to stop. It doesn't matter who shows up in my office, or shows up, or you go to. We're going to be continuing to work. It doesn't matter if they don't have insurance, or if they're on Medicaid. But we're going to continue that. We're going to end up paying it one way or another. But I don't think any of us are going to say that we're not going to be treating and give health care. Health care is a right.
Hi. Like so many in this room, I'm a veteran.
I'm a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. Part of my service was spent at Camp Lejeune. And Camp Lejeune was, the water supply there was knowingly corrupted by cancer-causing chemicals. Not deliberately, but knowingly. I have already lost a number of my brothers in arms. And I'm going through the treatments myself at the moment. With how do we restore our VA and our Medicare to make sure that those of us who stepped up and stepped forward are taken care of? Or are we going to be treated like the 4 soldiers who just returned from Lithuania? Thank you.
Thank you.
Usually was the last person to go on the mic at different events over the years, but I think that the answer, I don't want to say simple, but we are here, and on the next vote, we're going to vote differently. We're going to get our friends to vote differently, and it's going to be 11 slides in the room, period.
I'm Tom Robertson, and I'm from Ashtabula County. And I'm going to point out what Trump is up to in this state today, which is bad news, okay? I label Trump as being a bad guy, okay? I can think of a lot of other things to say about him, but I'm going to make a point. I'm concerned about Social Security. That's why I've got this hat on. I'm concerned about Obamacare, which is the Affordable Care Act, okay? I'm concerned about Medicaid. What Trump is up to is he wants to destroy all 3 in the roundabout way that he's doing it, all right? He, right now, is on TV advertising supporting a Republican for governor in the next election. Okay? Now, this is what this is all about. I've got 5 grandchildren. I've got 6 great-grandchildren that are on Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Okay? And it's damn good insurance. They're all from North Carolina. And it's affordable. They pay for it. It's not free. Okay? I've got a granddaughter that's in Texas. Okay? They do not have Obamacare in Texas. They do not have Medicaid as we have it in Ohio. Okay? There's 41 states that have it. The rest of the states don't. I know of 2 states, Florida and Texas, where they don't have it. My granddaughter has lupus. Her premium for her insurance is 3 times higher than what Brett pays. Now, I got into this because she's going to have financial help. She has bought a program that is 3 times higher than what my kids are paying in Texas for Obamacare, and it's a terrible program. She has to pay the first $3,000. Then after that, she has to pay 20%. They only pay 80%. And there's all kinds of things that she doesn't have coverage on. I've got to get her out of Texas, okay? But here's what Trump's up to. He wants to get this guy elected in the primary with a Republican so that he can destroy Social Security, Obamacare, and Medicaid. Because any way you look at it, he's against all 3, okay? And that's why he wants to put that guy up there, because he'll control him. He came out and said he wants to eliminate Obamacare. He doesn't like Medicaid, supported by the government, okay? And he's done all kinds of things against Social Security. That's what he's up to. That's the crap this guy's been paying money to advertise already in the primary with the Republicans. So I hope the Republicans are smart enough not to elect this guy to run the next governor race. That's what it's all about. He's a bad guy.
Very much.
So if you want to protest against Ramasamy, that's what Lori said. He's going to be at the Tanglewood Country Club. He's a keynote speaker for the Geauga County Republican Party, and he's being introduced by No Show Dave. So that's at 5 o'clock tonight.
A question I don't hear addressed directly very often is the following. In February, I paid my property taxes on time. And just this last week, my federal taxes were paid and my Ohio state income taxes were paid. But these days, unless you're, and I won't say the NZ word, but a Trump sympathizer, then your state does not get FEMA funds, federal money that I paid in. And if you're Kentucky, the whole state is getting FEMA this week. If you're California, F you. And that's, but I won't divert to the other F word. But the point is, because I happen to live in so far Republican state, maybe something will come back to Ohio. But otherwise, other states, California, New York, they went into New York and took out millions of dollars out of the bank account, just withdrew it and said, oh, you can't have that anymore because you're not an evil supervisor.
Okay. So let me try to get around the room a little bit more.
Thank you. I'd like to talk a little bit about the feeding of our souls and spirits and mind. And I'm going to ask John Patterson to talk about history. I've worked in the arts and culture sector my entire life, and Representative Joyce sits on the subcommittee for appropriations on the Interior. You may all be aware that the current administration, President Trump, has essentially taken over the board of the Kennedy Center. He's looking at the Smithsonian Institution. They're looking at defunding and deauthorizing the NPR, the PBS, Institute for Museum and Library Services, which covers Ohio organizations, the National Endowment for the Arts and the National Endowment for the Humanities. The last two agencies, 40% of the money is federally mandated to come to the states, so we are certainly going to feel that in Ohio, a very culturally rich state. What happens, John, when we silence artists and historians and scholars? What does history tell us? This is something we've got to be very careful about as well. Chris, I think you were saying too, you're involved with the arts in Shelby County too. Would you guys comment on those things as well?
Thank you for that question. The arts unleash creative energy. And the only thing that's constant in life is change, correct? We have to adapt to change. And it's the artists, it's those who are in the STEM, those fields sometimes get criticized because they're too far out there. For the rest of it, right? They're too far out there. They're not part of the mainstream. We need those folks to continue to push back the frontiers of ignorance. The frontiers of ignorance, so that we all benefit. When I was in the state legislature, I was a fierce proponent for our funding for libraries and for the arts for those very reasons. And to give you a concrete example, example, that's why I think the current president wants to squash what's happening at the Kennedy Center. It's a premier opportunity for people to express themselves, to push back the frontier, and he wants to control it. Exactly. There's no other way to say it. We can't let that happen.
I'm not going to add anything to what John said. With one exception. He said STEAM. Science, technology, engineering, math. That's not what we promote at the Gateway Arts Council. We support science, technology, art, and math. STEAM, not STEM. Excuse me. Oh, you already did. You're right. Is what binds us together and gives us that creative energy. I tell a story in places I do a lot of bulldozer work and create waterways and draft waterways and projects and so forth. And I'll tell you something. If I didn't have a good art teacher, I wouldn't be able to do that and create out of the land with my 300 horsepower paintbrush. I wouldn't be able to do that unless I learned that creative energy and that was unleashed. That's how, it isn't all just painting, it isn't all ethereal. It matters. It matters to me. I can create. It's a sculpture, what I do with a bulldozer.
Hi. We've talked about so many different problems and issues here, and we could go on and on. There's even more. But something that's maybe not mentioned that I think ties a lot of this together is all these things that Trump and his buddies are doing is hurting America. In my opinion, who is it helping? I think it's helping Putin. And I think maybe Trump should be investigated for treason.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I just have a question for Mr. Gibbs. What is the rural draw to Republicans that we talked about today? Like, they're increasing property taxes, they're increasing tariffs, and we're not able to export overseas. Like, why are they still voting Republican?
There's a war. There's a war. Yeah, I've been on a short leash before. Your question, I'll rephrase it, is why do our rural friends vote against their economic interests and times? Okay? It's not that difficult. It may be difficult to solve, but it's not that difficult. These are values voters. They will tell you that they are values voters. Now, before you say, then why in the hell did you vote for Trump? I'll get to that. They believe that their values are under attack. That what they believe, and by the way, it's up to you as a candidate, it's up to you as an advocate to find out what exactly means the most to them. Talked about shared values earlier. You talked about talking to people to find out what's important to them. Because they are values voters and they have determined, they believe that their values are under attack, what really is important to them, okay? They believe the barbarians are at the door. And that their only choice back was to hire their own barbarian. Okay? Their own barbarian to fight back on what they perceive, perception is reality, what they perceive is an attack on their values. That's why travel all over the state saying, make sure you can tell, make sure you know what your values are, and you can demonstrate those to your neighbors and let them know that they are not under attack because you are their neighbors. You believe the same things they do. We share those values of patriotism, and we all want safe food. We all want lower taxes. We all want those things, and you have to demonstrate that. So that's the issue that people don't get. Jim Jordan's never voted for agricultural policy in his 150-year as a he came out of college. He was created, by the way, in Shelby County. He wasn't conceived there, but he was created there by 4 businessmen. They brought him in right out of college, and they said, if you take care of us, we will take care of you throughout your whole career. So he started as my state rep, my state senator, and congressman. He's been, my God, he's like a sore ass. So you can't get rid of him. But he's voted against agriculture every time. And why do farmers continue to vote for him? Because they'll suck up the pain that Republican policies will provide to agriculture because they hold in a higher regard their core values that they believe are under attack. Yeah, obviously abortion is the issue. I don't even like to say that word. I like to say women's rights. Okay, women's health care. Because the word abortion is listen, for Democrats, we need to change the script on that. We need to change the script and not talk about abortion, but talk about that we are, the Democratic Party, are the true pro-life party. Are the true pro-life party. From cradle to grave, truly pro-life. We're the only pro-life party where the Republicans aren't interested in prenatal care, health care as a child, Head Start, etc., etc. We're the ones that are pro-life, cradle to grave all the way. And so we have to reframe that narrative, and that's how we try to talk about it in Shelby County. Again, a value. But we got to demonstrate it in a different way.
Okay. We were talking about the arts, and I wasn't planning on asking you a question, but our forests, our national parks. I mean, he's coming from every direction. This man has no shame. But I heard parts of what he was saying the other night on television, and they mentioned the parks that all I kept saying is, we got a lot of lumber here. Yeah. And I couldn't sleep. I mean, I live in Geauga. I am blessed to live in Geauga. It's so beautiful. And how does he get away with that? I mean, I just don't understand that. I just don't understand that. And what do we do about it?
So I'm gonna try to answer that question as a party leader and a state leader. I'm gonna let my fellow chairs speak to this issue as well, because I keep getting, what do we do? What can we do? Okay, we can protest, we can do all these things. What can we do? And one of the things I want to say to you is that you need to support your local Democratic Party. You need to support the opposition. We are the only recognized opposition to the GOP and the Trump agenda. You may not agree with us on everything. I don't agree with me on everything. So it is important. Local parties help elect school board members, city council members, township trustees. We participate in making sure that your local government is run properly. In most of our counties, we're now in a situation where it's one-party rule. The It's been one-party rule for a long time in Ohio, and we aren't getting any better. You have to put aside all the negativity that the Republicans have constantly preached about Democrats and liberals. That's not us. We're your neighbors. We're your friends. We are the policemen, the teachers, the nurses, the doctors. We serve you, and you need to help us. We cannot do it alone. Most people don't understand that the county party gets nothing except some education and advice from the state party or the national party. It's a bottom-up cash flow. All of us here are volunteers. We make no funds at all. We do this, I've done this for 25 years. I've never earned a penny. It costs me thousands and thousands of dollars. And my kids say, why do you do it? And I say, because I want my grandchildren to grow up in a better world. So you need to participate. You need to be active in your party. You need to write letters to the editor. Letters to the editors are very, very important. You need to go to your school board meetings and say, you're not banning that book. You need to go to your parks and your county commissioners. You need to show up. And I know we're all busy, but we have to show up, and we have to be united, and we have to stop bad-mouthing ourselves. When you hear people say, oh, the Democrats aren't doing anything, you have to say, wait a minute, I was at a town hall. Wait a minute, I was at a demonstration. Wait a minute, I saw a letter to the editor. Wait a minute, we visited David Joyce's office. We're doing something, and we need your help to continue it.
As Janet was saying, we're asking you see something, say something. Silence means agreement, and they are controlling all forms of media. There's a difference between media and journalism. People are not reading newspapers regularly, but they are bombarded with this media explosion, and we can't let them define independent thinkers and Democrats that are fighting against us. So we need you to join us. And one other little tip I want to give you. When you are talking to people, frame it as the Republican administration. The Republicans, because often we're hearing Elon. And we don't want people to think if Elon starts working behind the curtain, that everything's okay. It isn't. From the top, from Trump down, the Republican administration is putting a fear into every other Republican in Congress, even at the county level. They are afraid the threats are working. So speak up. Let your county commissioner, your school boards know that you do not agree with what's happening.
There are a lot of things that aren't mentioned that you don't even think about how you can help your local parties. One is we need graphic artists to donate some time. For candidates who are running for the first time, help them for their brochures, for their yard signs. Anything you can think of where you might say, I can only do this. Call us anyway, because we maybe need that. A lot of you have a lot of expertise that we're just craving and we need. We need, obviously, donations. We may need a toaster. I don't know. But all you have to do is contact your local Democratic headquarters. Let me just say this as an artist myself. I just finished a workshop not too long ago. And it was on Zoom. And there were 20 people that participated. All of us. Still hurting. We are all hurting. And I think that the message is really, really clear. Tell these stories.
Get people who can tell their story. Because history will show that it is our stories that change minds. It's not screaming, it's not that. It's the music, it's the art, and it's all of us coming together as speaking with one voice. And you know what else? Wear a Democratic t-shirt. Stand proud. Who's proud to be a Democrat? I'm proud to be a Democrat. And we're going to start having t-shirts that say, I'm proud to be a Democrat. Thank you so much for coming out here today. We appreciate it.
So we're going to let our speakers have 1 minute each to close. And I want to thank everybody for being here.
Like I said, growing up in America and the values that my parents instilled in me. And when I'm in Ukraine and I speak Ukrainian, but they know that the accent's not right. And you know what they do? They come up to me. They say, "Where are you from?" And I go, "From Cleveland, Ohio." Cleveland, United States. Anyway, they thank me. I go, "Don't thank me, thank the country." They thank you guys. They thank America all the time. I'm going there back and forth. I'm walking around. Occasionally I'm on the phone talking English. They're thanking us. So the Oval Office and our Vice President said, "You never thank us." Well, everybody's thanking us, one. And me being in Ukraine and seeing how things are in other countries, a lot of times I finish whatever we're talking about related to Ukraine. I say, "God bless America." I am proud and happy that I grew up here. So, on a positive note, we're still in the best game winning, okay? But we have to work a little bit harder now. Thank you.
Well said, and I want to take you back in history now to the American Revolution. Think about challenging a well-established nation with enormous funding, large army, and we did it. But there's more that you need to know. During the Revolution, there were only a third of our population who were truly active. There was another third who were loyal to the crown. And another third were just apathetic. Sound familiar? We're in the same sort of boat. You are in the third of being activists. We have to get the other third who are on the sidelines into the game with us. Right? Now here's your assignment. This has been a feel-good time, hasn't it? It's been good to come together. I don't know about you, but I don't sleep well these last 5 weeks. Seems like 5 years. It didn't feel this way during Barack Obama's presidency, did it? It didn't feel this way when Joe Biden was there, did it? Something's gnawing in your soul, or you wouldn't have been here today. So here's what you have to do. It doesn't do any good if we just walk out of here and, "Oh, wasn't that nice?" and go home and go about our business. That doesn't do squat. So let me ask you, how many of you in here can write a letter somewhere? Hands high. Give them up. How many of you will? All right, that's a start. How many of you in here can help at your local party? This should be everybody. How many of you will? Exactly. Take these people aside. You know who they are. You know where you live, and find out. Ask them before they get out. And Janet, I hope you don't get home till 4 this afternoon. How can I help? If we sit idly by and do nothing, we're just as guilty as they are who are doing something. So this is the time, this is the hour, this is your legacy, this is our future. Are you with us to get something done? So do it.
Wow. Well said, John. The guy lacks a little energy, doesn't he? God, it might be rubbing off on me, I think. Some of you may know that I'm a bit of a crazy man. I'm a runner. I'm a long distance runner. I'm an ultra marathoner. And back in 2018, I had, boy, my wife would really question the wisdom of this, and she still does. I ran 143, I'm type 1 diabetic, by the way. I'll preface this story with that. Type 1 diabetic, been diabetic for the last 30 plus years. My A1Cs are great, by the way, thanks to good medical care and insurance, which is probably, going to be inaccessible here soon. Anyway, I ran 143 miles. Took me 40 hours. Ran from my house in Aurora all the way down to the State House in Columbus. Took me 40 hours to do that. Why the hell, Mr. Kennedy, would you do such a thing? That's nuts. I did it to raise awareness about this. The cost of insulin. Right? Right? And along the way, you don't just have one wall that you hit. You've got 35 of them. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're just exhausted, and you're like, John, you've gone about 100 miles here so far. I know you got 43 more to go, but couldn't you just give up? The darkness seeps in. This is where I'm going here. Okay, follow me along. The darkness seeps in. But instead of saying, you know what, maybe I just need to step aside, I did the opposite. Every time that happens, I lean into it. I seize the darkness and use it for my energy, my fuel. And I say, you know what, John? You don't need to run to Columbus. You just need to run to that opening up there over the hill. And when you get to that opening, you need to run to that tree another 150 yards away. So on and so forth for the remaining 43 miles. That's how we do this, folks. That's how we get through it. We use the darkness that we're in right now, and we bring in the light. We go the extra mile. This is not a sprint. This is a marathon, an ultra marathon. We all need energy. Feed on the energy here, like John just said. Feed on it, we're going to need it. We got to sustain one another for the long run. But we're going to get there. We are not rolling over. I ain't taking that knee. I ain't doing it. And I know you're not going to do it either. Right? Again, say it with me. I will not go quietly into that good night. Say it. Fight against the night. That's right. Thank you.
Well, this being at the end of the table thing is tough, buddy. I'll tell you what. I'm going to turn it around. I want to thank you folks on behalf of our presenters here. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank the organizers for what they're doing. Thank the county chairs for what they're doing. The county chair job is one of the toughest in the world. I'm not whining about it. I mean, I do it willingly. But it's unpaid, it's unappreciated, and you get to attract all of the arrows. And that's okay. So give these people another round of applause. I gotta tell you, they're doing the yeoman's work. You folks, I know, are going to do yeoman's work out here. I know that you're going to write letters to the editor. And thank you, John, for asking people if they're going to write. My counsel there would be to make it personal. Don't write a letter that says, tell me why you're destroying our democracy. Well, yeah, okay. But make it personal. Find an issue. Find something that is personal to you that's either affecting you, your family, or your business directly. Directly. Healthcare, taxes, you name it, security, whatever it is. Write about that. Get it to your letter to the editor. Get it out there, because I guarantee you there will be somebody, no, there will be just somebody, there will be hundreds of people that read that and say, she's just like me. Shared values. That's how you do it. One thing at a time. Get out and tell your story. Let it echo far and wide. Make them hear you. Make them hear you.
Wow. So I want to let you know that we're going to have a couple more of these town halls. We're also planning on lots of other meetings with our local representatives, whether they be from Ashtabula County or Lake County or Trumbull County. You know, our reps, we're doing stuff. If there's stuff you want to see us do, send us an email, send us a call, give us a text. All of our information is out there on the web, and you know, just get in touch with us any way that you want or can. We all have permanent headquarters, so you can come visit, come and volunteer. We'd like to keep them open more hours than what we can. Write postcards, write letters to the editor, come and, like for instance, every Saturday morning we have coffee and conversation between 9 and 11 o'clock, and everybody comes in and bitches. And it's kind of what you couldn't do tonight, but we have a good time. And the other county parties do the same thing. So everybody's doing something. Figure out how you can help. Tell them what you would like to see done, and then volunteer to do it. That's the hardest thing, taking that first step to be active. And you're all here today, and thank you so much. So turn in your papers, turn in your comment cards, turn in whatever you've got for us, and thank you, thank you, thank you.